Paranormal Punches is part of the Podbelly Network. Go to podbelly.com for more great podcasts.
Hey, y'all. This is Frank the Bigfoot, and you're listening to the Paranormal Punchers.
Hey, friends! Welcome to another exciting adventure of Paranormal Punchers. I'm Mark.
I'm Alicia.
I'm Nash.
I'm Dave.
Here we are all together in the same room.
What?
That's right. Like the Super Friends.
Okay.
We even have was there a dog in the Super Friends? I thought there was.
Yeah,
I think there
see?
was.
there was. We got it's like the Scooby Gang.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah. And the mystery we're going to solve today, it's called... Lish, I'll let you do the...
It is called the Kinross Incident, but also known as the disappearance of Felix Moncla and Robert Wilson.
Right on.
Felix and Bob.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the Odd Couple? The name of the characters in the Odd Couple? Because you're not the oldest one. So anyway,
Whoa.
sorry.
For people listening to a podcast, Nash looked at me and made funny eyes because I'm older than him. So,
Well, it was Felix Unger, and who was the other guy?
Oscar Madison.
Oh, it was Oscar, not Robert. Okay, sorry. Anyway, back
I know
on.
you date yourself just as much.
I know.
I know, I totally do. I know.
What are you, like 2 years younger than me? Come on
Yeah,
now.
something right in that ballpark.
It's great to have everybody together. We're all safe. Doing our social distancing part here, but it's great to be all in the same room because this is the last time that we're going to record the podcast at this location.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Lish and I are moving, and this house, interestingly enough, is haunted.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say it was the mothership, but I kind of like the haunted. That's nice.
I wish, we were being picked up by aliens, and taken away.
Podcasting from another dimension.
No, it's a house that's been in the family for a long time. So family just keeps passing it to each other, passing it down the line. Families. My grandma lived there. My mom, my brother. I lived there when I lived with my brother for a little bit. So it's been in the family for a long time, and it's built like in the 1800s.
Wow.
My sister-in-law, Shelly, she was having some friends over. They were doing some drinking, having a good time, and her one friend said, "Hey, who else is here?" She's like, "What are you talking about?" "No, but we're the only ones in the house." He said, "No, I just saw a woman walk across over there," and he described it. It sounded like he was describing somebody wearing period clothing, this long
Really?
dress. Yeah. Obviously, nobody else was in the house. It was just Shelly and her friends. My mom said she was up in her bed reading a book, and it felt like somebody got in bed with her.
Oh, all right. That was like a Ghostbusters thing. Right on.
That's freaky.
Yeah, right? So hopefully we don't have anything like that. I really enjoy getting a good night's sleep. I don't want any Shadow Man. But...
Well, I was going to say, because you're trying to, I'm sorry, Alicia, because it's just gone from Shadow Men that you're being offered to this ghost to be possessed by, just so Mark can get a good night's sleep.
Let's hope I don't get possessed. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how this, I don't know. We'll see how this goes. But
Yeah, and we do have official psychics and mediums and all things who can help.
We got to get that place cleansed.
I'm telling you, this is the group that can do it.
right.
Yep. Hey, maybe all the ghosts in the house will love it when we're there recording our podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Hopefully
right.
they all smash a 5-star in the spirit world, right?
Right.
Or add a fifth member.
Oh.
Yeah.
Or someone to fill in if one
Right.
else isn't there.
We could put a spirit box on mic and just see what happens during a podcast.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, and we're also working towards a 100th episode.
Yes,
right.
we are.
So many exciting things happening.
Yep.
I hope everybody out there is doing well. Hope you're safe. And why don't we jump into listener feedback brought to you by El Yucateco Hot Sauce. Exactly. We decided to make something funny. Go ahead and give it a listen. With my bland hot sauce, I will make your taco flavorless.
Hey, you ruined my taco, mister.
Stop right there, Dr. Bland.
Oh, no. It's Captain Flavor and his sidekick Taste Bud.
That's right, and you're about to get sauced.
Leave the jokes to me, little buddy.
Sorry, Captain Flavor.
Now take this, you flavorless fiend.
You knocked him out cold.
I certainly did. Fear not, citizen. I have El Yucateco hot sauce in my utility belt.
You mean your fanny pack?
Utility belts? Now just splash this on your taco and take a bite.
Oh my God, so much flavor.
That's right. El Yucateco is the king of flavor. They have 5 habanero-based sauces: red, green, Caribbean, black label reserve, and triple extra hot. They even have a jalapeno hot sauce and a chipotle hot sauce, too. Just go to shopelyucateco.com and get flavored.
Get flavored?
Yes, that's all I could think of. We should go up, and that away.
All right. We heard from Will. Hey, guys. I just thought I'd say I loved both new episodes, the one about the White House and the movie one. We actually, on Patreon, we talked about The Vast of Night.
Yeah.
Great movie. Great movie.
Mark, you said that you were surprised that the whole town was at the basketball game. I'm from a small town of less than 1,000 people, and at my high school, when you played your rival, everyone was there.
Okay.
Our town is basically shut down for the basketball games.
Okay.
And one of the reasons I like this movie, it's one of the reasons I like this movie, because the town reminded me of my hometown in Wellsville, Missouri.
Okay.
You guys are awesome. I look forward to every episode. I love y'all's podcast. It's awesome. Thanks, Will.
Thank you.
I can appreciate that, man. We heard from Phantom Gaming. I don't know if you all found this from the last episode, but some people have visited the White House have seen JFK and Marilyn Monroe doing stuff in one of the rooms.
Oh, wow. Wow,
Okay.
Did you come across any of that?
No, I didn't.
No.
So I'm shocked. You know, lots of times when we are going over, like, oh, I found this, you guys find, like, stuff that I haven't even, even come across. So it's bizarre, like, the way that search engines, like, work for some people and not for others, but...
And Phantom Gaming also says, tell Nash that I would love to try his beer if y'all come to Texas.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. That'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Not right now, though, but...
Right. It's a little warm there right now, but, it's
maybe
dry
wintertime.
heat.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, if it's like 100 and some degrees right here in Pennsylvania, at least that's what it feels like. Gosh,
It's so
what's Texas
hot.
like?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, my dad sent me. He's in Phoenix, Arizona, and he sent me a screenshot of the newspaper and then a screenshot from his thermostat in his car. And the newspaper said 115, 118, and his car said 125.
Oh, God.
But it's a dry heat.
It's a dry well, so it was an oven. So yeah. But it was just like, oh my gosh, I forget what that's like.
Ugh. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
We heard from Seth Bell. He said I could use his name, so I read the entire name.
There you go.
Hey, guys. I have been listening to the podcast for about 9 months now. I needed something to listen to while shoveling snow at home on one morning after work. I worked the graveyard shift, so it was like 4:30 in the morning. Anyway, I stumbled upon your podcast on Spotify and started listening. Thanks, Spotify. I was instantly hooked and was happy when Nash joined the show permanently. You guys are amazing and so incredibly entertaining. Thank you for the laughs and the entertainment.
Yeah, right on. That's like, woohoo.
Yeah. Because he mentioned your name.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited. I'm excited. That's like, wow, right on. Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Well, Seth continues here. If you're done celebrating
wait a minute.
yourself.
Hold on. This could all turn around in a second.
No, it doesn't. I've had a lot of unexplained or paranormal things happen to me in my life. But wanted to share one with you about the time when me and some friends were playing D&D, because I know you guys play as well.
Oh, yeah.
Side note, I'm still waiting for the Dragon Punchers podcast.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I was playing D&D with some friends on a Sunday evening. We had just finished a major battle with a giant purple worm. We defeated it largely in part to my ranger's barrage of arrows that ended up being the final blows. We all looked down at our character sheets or players' handbooks for a second right after the fight ended. so we were momentarily distracted in some way. When we looked back up a second later, we all noticed some sort of gray, oily ooze-like substance. The only way I can describe it is if you took some ashes from a fire, mixed it with some baby oil. It also had a weird, pungent smell. And this substance was all over the table, and books and papers, and the map, like it had been sprayed there. Not sure what happened or where it came from, but it was super weird. Can't wait to hear your thoughts on this. Love the show, guys. Keep up the good work, and also pudding skin for the win, baby.
For the win.
Keep on rocking.
That's weird.
Gray ooze.
I'm like wondering, like,
Did somebody sneeze?
was there? I was like, was there a wizard in your party, and the player actually brought some type of grimoire that he cast some weird real spell?
Can I grease the table?
Yeah. One of our current members would love to grease the table every time.
Oh, yeah. Seth, this is for you. We'll do a quick 1 minute
rendition
episode of Dragon Punchers. So we've been playing Forge of Fury out of the Tales of the Yawning Portal.
Yep.
DM in that campaign. Lish, I think you're playing
I'm a ranger.
a ranger.
Yeah.
I think you're a rogue.
Just kidding. I'm a rogue.
You're getting our campaigns mixed
Yes,
up.
I am.
Nash, you're a dwarf cleric.
Yes.
Dave, you're a turtle dude.
Turtle. Yep.
Turtle. And little Nash's kid Evan is
He's a rogue. What is it?
arcane trickster.
Yes.
All right. So anyway, the group did manage to get inside the first level of the forge.
Like walk in the front door kind of a thing.
Actually, you guys managed to smash pretty much everything that I had put in your path. I was getting disappointed with myself for not just making the hit points just to keep upping them because you were walking through the dire wolves, the orcs. I think we had an ogre in there. You guys were just walking through them too easily. I was like, I should have thrown something bigger at these guys.
It's just because we rock, that's all.
But I didn't need to because your teammates foiled your own party.
Yep.
Because they get to the steps to go into the Glitterheim, the second level of the forge. And for some reason, Little Nash says, can I grease the steps?
That we haven't yet gone down.
Yeah. Right.
Right, exactly.
I don't know why.
That we have to go down.
We have to go down, so he end up greasing them, and then we end up doing a slip and slide.
Yeah. As a DM, part of me is screaming, no, why would you do that? But I was like, yes, you may. So he did. His spell went off. He greased the steps, so everybody had to roll at disadvantage to see if they could, at their decks, every 10...
Yeah.
Did it make you roll every 10 feet?
10 feet, yep.
Dave, you, first 10 feet, I think you're good. The second 10 feet you rolled, and you failed. And
No, I was fine the whole way down.
Wait, who rolled?
I think you were the only one
I was the only one that made it down.
Oh, everybody else slip and slide and crashed into the back wall.
Yeah.
I feel like, didn't I try to... I used one, dead...
Yeah, you tried to ride a dead body as a surfboard.
I did.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Were you successful?
I was successful for maybe the first one, and then after that it was just kind of it was sad.
So everybody does make it down. A few of you took a couple hit points,
A little damage here and there.
Not a big deal. Everybody gets down, and then Little Nash goes, "All right, so can I light this on fire?" And I'm like, "Your entire party's covered in oil and grease.
Can we just shoot a fireball and
And I feel like he was able to get down the steps fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it was kind of like, okay, so the rest of us are going to be dealing with
And
this.
it basically, after all this fallout, she's like, okay, I walk up to him and punch him in the face. I'm like, all right, 1d6 of damage. I think he rolled a 4.
I did.
Yeah.
He popped him pretty good.
I was so angry at that point. I was like, dude, come on.
And there's Dragon Punchers.
Yep.
That's right.
Whew, all right. Hey, thanks, Seth. Appreciate you listening and contributing to the show. We heard from Fly, Finchy Fly. In isolation for 4 to 5 days to get my COVID test results back.
Yeah.
Probably don't have it, but had a few symptoms, so better play it safe. So now I'm going to binge 65 current episodes of the greatest podcast on Earth.
Oh.
P-Punchers. Hashtag Pudding Skin Power.
That's right.
Ooh, Pudding Skin Power.
That's a new one.
Yeah, I like that. I see a T-shirt right there.
And he had another post. Well, officially, I can say that I listen to P-Punchers on my way to work. Once I get my COVID test back, for I have been hired for my first job ever.
Oh.
Nice.
Wow,
I'm
great.
excited. That's awesome.
Congrats.
Jeff, let us know how it goes.
Yeah, definitely.
Congratulations, man. Oh, and hopefully congratulations because you tested negative.
Yes.
Yes,
And
exactly.
congratulations on your job.
Yes.
And for also inspiring a new, pudding skin power.
That's a
I
new
like
one,
that.
yeah.
I like that.
Oh, my
like
God.
Right.
Could that be like somewhere in the comic book? What we should do, man? We all touch rings. Pudding skin power, activate. And then that should be form of pudding.
Pudding, form of tapioca. We ought to pick different flavors of pudding that we got to be. Yeah, go for
No, I would be like form of a giant bear.
it. Oh, okay. Well, whichever. Whatever you want to do, Mark.
Made of pudding. Does that make it
Yes,
better?
I like that. It makes it so much better.
We would be so undefeatable.
That's right. But we'd all be pretty tasty.
The bad guys would just be armed with spoons and smiles.
And a napkin.
Yeah.
So you can wipe off their face.
We might want to rethink that superpower.
Yeah, you're probably right.
We heard from Aaron, Licia's best friend, all the way down in El Paso, Texas.
Yep. So it's hot down there too. I think she sent a message that was like, "Oh my God, it's so hot."
Catching up on your podcast while painting. Just listen to the White House Ghost, and then now the Giants of Solomon Island. I'm obsessed. And then she wants to know, have we ever addressed the Bible verse about fallen angels coming from heaven and mating with humans, creating the Nephilim?
No.
No. I've heard it referenced before.
Right.
Nephilim? I've never even heard of that.
No?
I thought that angels didn't have. I referenced them like the movie version
From Kevin Smith's Dogma?
Yeah, from Dogma, where they don't have genitalia and they can't mate with humans.
Right.
Yeah.
I know Diablo 3, Nephilim is a big thing, but I don't know. I didn't realize it had any. I don't know if it does even have any reference back to that.
See, I typically, whenever I'm playing a game like Diablo 3, I don't pay attention to the story at all. I just get through it. Yeah. Yeah, so I didn't ever catch that. But I beat it a bunch of times. But but don't know anything about what you're talking about.
Now we'll have to look into it.
Yeah.
So check back in a year. Maybe we'll get to that topic.
That's right. That's right.
We are from Scott T. Hey, guys. I have a strange story. Rachel, my fiancée, dreamed someone was knocking on our door, and she opened it, and it was my parents holding a baby. My parents passed away many years ago, and Rachel never met them or seen them because I don't have any pictures of them. But she described them perfectly. She said that my mother touched Rachel's belly and said everything will be fine and the baby will be healthy. I should say that since we found out she is pregnant, that Rachel has had some health issues and has been scared something will happen to the baby.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yikes.
That's intense. I got goosebumps.
Yeah, me too.
That's wild.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Scott T. And hope everything goes
I know.
perfectly
Yeah.
with the pregnancy.
Oh my
And maybe
gosh.
maybe Rhonda would be able to shed some light, but maybe they just got a sign.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that it's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. Wow. And thanks for sharing.
Right.
For sure. Speaking of sharing things, people shared their opinion on our comic book idea of Abraham Lincoln and the Demon Cat YOLO. Because I put a poll out in the group, and we had, for the people that participated, 18 people voted for doing it as a comic book.
Okay.
16 people voted to do it as an audio drama.
Yeah.
And 6 people, including myself, voted for it to be a skit with puppets,
Yep.
which I still think is hilarious.
I know.
So I feel like, all right, I started the loose outline of the script for a comic book, and we'll see how it goes, everybody. Hopefully it's funny. Hopefully it's as funny as we thought it was when we were saying it.
We gotta let the idea marinate for a while to see how it holds.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think it's a fantastic idea, but we just gotta let it sit, come back to it, let it sit some more, and if it holds true, then right on.
And Yeah, if we can actually write the script for a comic book, might as well do it as an audio drama.
Right?
Yeah, might as well. I like the audio drama idea.
I do too. I think I've always wanted to do one.
Mm-hmm.
Except for the voice of YOLO. That was the hard part for me.
There was a lot of great recommendations. Wanda Sykes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in, but I have a feeling we can't afford.
No.
On our budget, yeah.
Yeah.
But, one of us would have to be Abe Lincoln on our budget.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be tough.
Dave, can you do Abe Lincoln?
No, but I'm still like the whole with the COVID thing. There's a lot of celebrities who want to lend their talents when they can't be out making
Yeah, and they could do it remotely and just send me the audio file.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that if not that I want COVID to hang around. I would much prefer COVID not hang around.
Right.
We don't have a star doing this, but if COVID hangs around, that we could probably get a star doing it.
You know what? Well, I'll send out some emails.
Yeah, I'll just throw it out there. See cast any lines, You know who we should probably get for
Robert De Niro?
For YOLO.
You talking to me?
Alec Guinness.
No. The little short guy. What's his name?
Let's describe,
The little short guy in Jumanji. Hart.
Oh, Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart. I was going to say Mike, but it's not Mike. It's Kevin. Kevin
I love the team, those The Rock as Abe Lincoln.
Yeah, as Abe Lincoln and Kevin Hart as YOLO.
Get them back. I know they like working together.
That would be awesome.
I can tell you right now, there's no way in a million years we can ever afford The Rock.
Either one of them, really, probably.
Yeah, no. It's a great idea, though.
Yeah.
Could you imagine a live action version?
They could
with
do
The
it for
Rock?
exposure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It could be a good local PR thing. They could help out.
I'm sure with the COVID, Rock struggling.
Yeah.
Yeah. To do movies.
To get his image out there. No, he's got that Titan Games.
Yeah.
Which I love.
He's got the TV show, the alcohol, the movies. What is it? He's doing all kinds of stuff. I don't know.
Well, but
I think he needs more PR. Yeah, that's right.
help us hire The Rock.
Yeah, that's right.
Boy.
That's right. But definitely Kevin Hart as YOLO. He'd be a great YOLO.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm just randomly going to see if I can find an email to their publicist and email.
Yep.
The craziest idea that maybe has ever come across their desk.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'd be like, it's not the craziest.
Yeah, right. You're probably right.
All right. If you want to send us feedback, just head on over to paranormalpunchers.com. You'll find all the ways to contact us. We would love to hear from you. Speaking of hearing from, we have 2 listener stories for the second half. Or again, I retitled that, We Have Some Tales from the Pudding Skin.
Yes.
I could go for some pudding. It's been a while since I've had some pudding.
See, that's why if we had powers and pudding skin power activate and we all turned into some form of pudding, I would be really afraid that you would just start.
I would just choose late.
Right.
I would be like
you
choose
let
last.
us turn into pudding first.
And then be like, let me think about this while I have some pudding.
You just said you would eat us.
Not all of you, just some of you.
Oh, but when we turn back to when the power wears off.
That's a logistical thing. You might be shorter. It could be a total volume or total mass thing. I don't know. Not like I ate your leg, so you have one less leg. I don't know.
But maybe we'll defy the laws of physics, and regardless of how much pudding you consume, you still return to normal form.
That's true. I could use a little bit of weight loss. So, if somebody eats maybe 5 pounds, 20 pounds worth of pudding, I come back in this shape to it's 20 pounds lighter. I could go for that.
Or if you eat us in pudding form, when the power wears off, we come exploding out of your belly. Boom!
Oh, nice. Inside out
We're
kind
like,
of a
take
thing.
that, Nash.
Could you cut a person into force and you would have little marks running around?
Like the Army of Darkness?
Yeah. The idea perpetuates itself.
All right, hey, I'm going to put a poll up. Would you like to see this in comic book form?
Oh, boy.
Puppets or animation?
Puppets.
Or real life.
Yeah.
With really good animation.
See, if we are ever gifted that power by an alien race, I'm not activating my power. Do I see what Nash does first? Kind of like jumping off a cliff. Like, you go first. You go first.
No, you go first. Go first. Ready? 1, 2.
Why are you holding a spoon, Nash?
That's right.
If you're still with us, we're going to get to the main topic Brought to you by Alicia, who's been very, very patient.
Okay. So, as I said at the beginning, this is called the Kinross Incident, also known as the disappearance of Felix Moncla and Robert Wilson. So, during the early evening of November 23rd, 1953.
Just before Thanksgiving.
Yes. Personnel at the Kinross Air Force Base noticed a strange radar return, seemingly over the Sioux Locks area of Lake Superior. This region of the upper Michigan area borders Canada and is very restricted airspace. Shortly after the object was picked up, First Lieutenant Felix Moncla and Second Lieutenant Robert Wilson, who operated the radar on the jet fighter, were sent on an F-89C Scorpion fighter.
Which are very cool.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
They went up to go investigate. Because of constant trouble to accurately read the radar readings, radar operators in the control tower on the ground ended up relaying info to Moncla during much of the flight. Moncla would begin to descend on the object when it suddenly changed course. So, like, they were going pretty fast, and it just moved on a dime.
It took a hard left or something.
The jet did likewise, engaging in a cat-and-mouse chase, assisted by the radar operator at the control tower. This would continue for around half an hour. To the control room at the base, radar operators and other on-duty personnel watched the screen as the blip representing the jet got closer to the unidentified blip, and then they became one. Those watching braced themselves for some kind of engagement for the F-89 to fly past the object and appear on the screen on the other side of it. However, before any engagement could take place, the blip would vanish from the screen. Radar operators would attempt radio communication with the F-89 jet, and an immediate search of the area went ahead. The search would continue throughout the night and into the following day. However, not a trace was discovered of the plane or the two pilots, not to mention the still unknown object.
Now, I saw that the blip didn't disappear.
They
merged, and the single blip continued where they thought that the F-89
so I saw a couple
through,
different things about that.
right.
Yeah.
So that they assumed that the single blip meant that they either had collided and that they would end up seeing wreckage, or they would see blips from the aircraft going down, or they would see the F-89 blow past it, and that none of that occurred. It was a single blip that just continued.
Yeah.
Right, like it basically opened up its bay doors and swallowed the F-89 right into it. Yeah. Tractor beamed him right in there.
Right, yep.
Okay, so any of the aftermath after this, it wasn't long, of course, before the Air Force began to backtrack and give different stories about the circumstances of that evening. After the first stating to the Associated Press that their plane and the bogey had merged on the radar screen, they would then claim to merge... They would then claim no such merging had occurred. One statement claimed the bogey was, in fact, a Canadian Air Force jet, who then had strayed off course. The Royal Canadian Air Force, they outright said, this didn't happen. Eventually, the U.S. Air Force would issue a statement claiming that the pilot probably suffered from vertigo and crashed into the lake. Now, in 1968, so I can't do math, but...
15 years later.
Thank you. In 1968, in Sault Ste. Marie, in Canada, they found military plane wreckage. It was found by prospectors along the banks of Lake Superior. There was, it would appear, limited speculation in the local press that the wreckage could be that of the missing F-89. However, neither the American or Canadian Air Forces were very forthcoming about what it was.
That's weird because, I mean, it's not like we're on a Cold War with Canada. You know, it's they're pretty friendly.
I know.
And they're pretty nice up there.
I know.
You know, they sent us a lot of really good comedians.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I would have expected if anything happened, there'd be a ton of apologies.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, sorry. Here's your plane back. Oh,
sorry, boot that.
Sorry, boot that.
So our Canadian listeners, sorry.
We owe you one next time.
Sorry. Yeah. So I did find a similar mysterious disappearance that happened almost a year earlier in November 28th, 1952. Pilot F. Jake would take, he would have like a twin-engine Beech 35 aircraft. He was flying out of Edmonton, Alberta, and he had 3 passengers on board. After refuel, Jake would take the plane over the open waters of Lake Superior, and shortly after they took off from their refueling stop, the plane simply disappeared from the radar screens. What made the disappearance even more bizarre was that there was no distress signals, and there was nothing else to suggest that there was any kind of problem at all. No wreckage or bodies were ever recovered. So it was just another interesting, like in the same, pretty much the same area.
Right.
That there was something that happened a year before.
Now, see, the questions that I have to do with the level of technology in 1953, radar technology. Okay, because I know, so being an air traffic controller is, I think, the highest stress job on that you could ever get.
Ugh, yeah.
Like your life cycle is only like 5 years at most before you need to get out of it because you're causing yourself like ulcers and mental fatigue and all.
Yeah, my mom tried to get me a job as an air traffic controller.
It's
because my stepfather was the manager at the Harrisburg International Airport.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, get him a job tomorrow. But now it sounds like I'm glad I said, nah.
I would have never do it.
No, thanks.
Yeah. The so the question I have has to do with when you're looking at a radar and you're seeing the screen on a radar, especially in 1953. It's kind of that blackish green screen with the circle going around.
Right.
Do they notate both horizontal and vertical differences in a plane? I think the answer is yes, because they would also need to know the altitude of the planes.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah.
I mean, but in 1953 is that, you know, I don't know if we know any air traffic controllers in 1953 who might be listening to our show.
Right.
You know, but I don't know if in 1953 they did, because it got me thinking, well, are these things one on top of the other?
Right.
You know, is there a way to notate that in a radar, on a radar screen in 1953? I don't know.
I mean, based on everything I know, which consists of Top Gun.
Yeah, right. You're right. You should be able to do that. But that was, what, 1980, 1990?
Right. So from that, I don't think you would have, when you get the hit back from the radar, you would be able to tell elevation of the hit. But when they merge, the radar wouldn't. I don't think it could tell you both.
Yeah, because it's like, so it's funny that you say Top Gun. So if you get that situation, which they clearly didn't do, but, you know, where the two planes are kind of like on top of one another, on a radar, could you differentiate between the two planes?
Yeah. That's again, from Top Gun and Tom Clancy books.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this has any real basis in reality, but one of the things is always that planes always fly in formation very, very close to each other, so that they show up as
a
two
single
planes when there's actually 4 there, type of thing. And then when they break off, now that's when you know how many are actually there.
Right, that's what got them in Top Gun.
Yep.
Yeah, those MiGs were all over the place. They kept on multiplying. Yeah. So that's what got me thinking about this situation was, you know, could have something. So I'm thinking about, like, okay, so you have this Raptor, this airplane, which is a bitchin' plane, and it's tailing this UFO, and then the UFO comes wise to it, and all of a sudden is like right on top of it or right underneath it. Yep. But at that point, if they haven't merged, if they haven't like sucked them up into the ship or whatever, if you're flying a plane and there's a UFO right there, you're gonna like be in awe of it, but then all of a sudden you're going to be like, holy Moses, I need to get out of here. This thing is right on top of me. So you're going to start flying erratically to get away from it. And is it going to be able to mimic you and your movements and the plane's movements? I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing I didn't mention. But yeah, they merged but they also lost contact. Like they weren't talking to them, and I feel like there was some static going on. So they were just like they were losing them the closer that they got to the object. So, which also makes people think there was some kind of interference. But
so hearing about whether they found wreckage or not, for them to have merged.
Logistically, would be really cool.
Yeah.
Well, say it did crash. What if it went down? Mm-hmm. For them to have seen only a single dot throughout the whole event and then not find wreckage, that means the plane couldn't have hit at a horizontal angle. It has to hit almost a vertical.
And lawn dart into something that would be able to absorb the impact and not reflect it out.
Right.
Yeah.
And with the concept that they expected the F-89 to go shooting past this dot.
Right.
Meaning it was at a much higher rate of speed than the dot was.
Right.
So for it to have crashed completely vertically,
like 90 degrees,
that means it would have had to taken a shot almost while it was following. And it starts to go down at such a speed that, obviously a podcast, you can't see my fingers right now, but
the arc you would have to create would be
at the same slow speed forward that the object is going, so that it ends up merging, but that's a very tough thing to pull off.
That's pretty tricky,
even choreographed.
Yeah.
Right.
So I have 5 questions or theories.
Yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Number 1. Okay. Why would they have someone who suffered from vertigo to such a degree as an active pilot duty?
They wouldn't. Right. They wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because if they even hinted at something like that, and they test for those things.
Right.
I mean, I believe it is possible for him to hide this, but vertigo, I've never experienced it myself, but it can be very debilitating. Yep. So, like, he would have to... because I'm assuming he's going through like training or working out with other
and
people.
G-force training, all kinds of crazy training.
So,
as in it would have came out in training,
exactly,
and the amount,
and they would have grounded him.
Right, the amount of even a single
weeks.
instance of it probably would have grounded him because the amount of time and money they put into pilots for training, and then the cost of the aircraft.
Right.
They're not going to put anybody up who's a danger to themselves
at
or
any
others
risk whatsoever,
because it's not a good It's not good for the whole concept of what the Air Force is.
Right.
But I could see like an instant, like, no, it wasn't a UFO. The guy had vertigo. Yeah. So I could see them totally trying to lay some blame.
But even there,
but I love that you guys both were like, but I call BS because there's no way he made it through basic training and flight school.
And so the thing is that if they had said that he had temporary vertigo, if he had,
but how would they know he's in a cockpit flying at this UFO?
Exactly,
they would have known because he wouldn't have gotten through basic. Because in basic, they get your medical records from whatever your doctor, your physician is. They pull your medical records. So that person with vertigo would have needed to shield it from all the military plus his family physician.
I know somebody that has vertigo.
Yeah.
And there's no way that you can fake it.
No.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just losing your balance and it just happened. You don't feel right.
Yeah.
There's no way he could have got through the rigorous training to be a fighter pilot.
Right. And even, again, if they had said it was temporary vertigo, probably that, he had a head cold before he went up or something like that where it causes an inner ear imbalance. But they didn't. They said that he was known to have bouts of vertigo, which is not...
That's like having bouts of epilepsy or something.
If he's known for having these bouts, then they would have grounded him a long time ago.
That's correct.
So,
that's correct. Yeah.
Anyway.
We're speculating. We don't know if he was able, if he really had it, if he was able to hide it.
It was one of their not excuses, but they were like, this is what happened. He probably had, thank you. He had vertigo and he crashed into the lake.
It just sort of sounds like they instantly were just putting the blame right on.
Yes.
On, he had this and that's what happened. Nothing else. Look away, everybody.
Question 2.
Okay. So this isn't really a question, but.
Oh, well.
Anyway.
I set the whole thing up for you.
I know.
Gosh,
thank you. I know. A member of the USAF, so the U.S. Air Force. I shortened it for myself so I didn't have to actually write it out. But yeah, I'm sorry. He was present on on the evening in question. He claimed to have heard Moncla's Cajun drawl coming over the radio several hours after the Air Force claimed contact was lost. If this was the case, what would that tell us? Where was the apparent broadcast coming from? Was the pilot flying through the skies of Michigan, or might the audio have been coming not from elsewhere on the planet, but perhaps from another dimension or realm altogether? Ooh. After all, planes vanish into thin air more than we might think. Might the UFO have been a consequence of some kind of open portal or gateway?
Right, okay.
One that, when it closed, took the UFO and the plane with it to an unknown destination.
It did a whole jump thing. Did like a trans-warp jump.
Yeah. He was just like, oh, this guy's close. Let's leave.
Or if it was still in the atmosphere, cloaked. The signal was coming because he's sitting inside the bay of this alien ship, and somehow the signal was still able to
you still get
out a little
hint
bit.
of a radio signal. I mean, we talked about earlier about spirit boxes, the spirits coming through and being able to be heard on the radio because the radio signal itself can amplify something like that. Maybe this is a similar situation.
Yeah.
You know, where they came from, who knows, but still they got a hint of it.
Right.
You know, to that, I always picture, I don't know what parts they actually found in 68, but I picture the scene from Thor Ragnarok where he's being chased by the monster at the beginning, and they open up the, I just lost the term, where he goes back.
The Rainbow Bridge?
Yeah. And the head of the monster comes with him.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And the other half would have stayed there.
No.
So what if, this guy's following the UFO and the portal opens and immediately closes, and the parts that they found were actually from the tail end that got cut off and went into the lake. But then the other half was actually in the other dimension with the UFO.
Okay.
I like that. They discredit finding any parts that were...
Well, they didn't say anything. They were like, yeah, stuff was found, but we don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not going to tell you what it is.
Yeah, and I think of the movie Stargate, where it wasn't necessarily to another portal, but it was a jump to another part of the universe.
Right.
To where they were able to catch a little bit of audio and video until it died. When it finally, the portal closed, they still got a little nugget. And maybe that's kind of what they got.
Question number 3.
Maybe.
Why were they given no memorial? The 2 pilots had no memorial performed in their honor, as every member of the military who dies during active duty would do. Was it because the Air Force had reason to suspect that the 2 crewmen might still be alive?
Yeah.
If there was a chance the 2 pilots were alive, where are they?
So I agree with that on a slightly different reasoning.
Okay.
I think that they didn't get a memorial, not because that they thought that they were alive and somewhere else and they couldn't find them, but because they couldn't confirm their death.
Okay. Yeah, I think the families got flags, what I read. But yeah, there was no memorial service held for them at all. So,
it's the old trope where somebody tries to throw somebody off a cliff and they kill them, and they say, "Well, did you see the dead body?" No, and then they shows up alive somewhere else. Okay. Yeah, kind of those. That's what I think.
Okay,
that's kind of that's my simple reasoning.
And I don't know the reasoning or anything, so I have no idea how they do things. But
I don't know.
Just a question. Okay. Maybe they have secretly been recovered by U.S. forces. And if so, what reason could there have been to keep their survival and recovery secret? Might it suggest that the U.S. military knew a little more than the UFO that their official stance would lead the public to believe?
Yes. All right, so you're asking, does the U.S. military know more than they're telling us?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
they could be housed in some place in Pleasantville somewhere in a fake town, whatever.
Or maybe they disappeared for a little bit and they came back, and so now they're being experimented on. Right. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
they went through the portal and their radio still worked, and so they're actually still in communication as they're getting investigated, probed, whatever, by the alien race. The Air Force is actually in communication with them, knowing what's going on.
Do you think?
Well, I mean, right away, with the alien race is like super cool. And the radio communication back to the U.S. Military is like, yeah, it's awesome here. We're not coming back.
Right, yeah.
Do you think that the Air Force or the military or whoever who is working in tandem with the aliens is kind of learning from them, gets those two pilots back and tries to start probing them, and is like, I don't understand why they do this, but we're going to keep doing it anyway?
Jeez.
That would really suck. Because they know.
Well,
I'm just thinking, like, they're probably like, there's got to be something to this, so shove that thing in there, you know? God. And the guy's like, no, this is not fun. Right. You should know this. Just
so
random thought.
The fifth thing is kind of in tandem with the fourth one. Did the men see something that the Air Force didn't want them to see? I.e., was the U.S. experimenting with something and these men got in the way, as in maybe the Air Force, they scrambled jets and they didn't realize they shouldn't be scrambling jets. Right. You know what I mean?
They called these two pilots to go.
Yeah.
I see.
And then taking it a step further, what if the Canadian Air Force reference is because they were actually in on it, and they were instructed to shoot down this rogue Air Force group that was not supposed to be there.
Yeah, I don't know. Just a few questions to think about.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, that makes me. Your fourth question makes me think of other situations where pilots have disappeared or planes have disappeared, and they need subjects. I think that the alien and military or governmental bodies, whoever they're hybrid, they're joint ventures underground, that they need human subjects. And maybe this was another situation where these two, to your point on question 5, they saw something and had questions that were a little bit outside of the box. Right. So they said, here you go. Here's 2 more guys. Let's go see if they can pull a third eyeball out of their head or something. Yep.
So, speaking of cover-ups, I want to throw this out there. Did you guys come across the Great Lakes Diving Company?
Yep.
No, I did not.
Yeah.
So, this is referred to as a hoax, but
it is.
Let me throw it out there. In 2006, this came out, but the Great Lakes Diving Company, I guess someone that works there, the president, Adam Jimenez.
Jimenez.
Jimenez. Thank you.
It's with a Y. It sounds like it's a Y. It's a J, but it sounds like a Y.
Okay. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
In searching the general vicinity of the wreck, we believe we also found a part of the object that the F-89 collided with. We are still in the process of documenting the mystery object. There is still a lot of wreck site forensics to complete. So this is the guy that working for the this supposed Great Lakes Diving Company. Now I found that he sent a photo showing this stuff covered by like silt, but he believes it was they were talking about wreckage from the F-89, and something they weren't 100% sure of. Now he put that out here to what newspaper?
Scrolling.
Anyway, the website, this company, everything just disappeared.
Yeah.
So people are attributing to a hoax, but I'm like, if the military are going to act like, look, what if he really did find parts of the F-89 and this UFO?
Got to disappear him.
And then, he got disappeared. So people say this guy was full of crap. It was a hoax.
Right.
But the website, this diving company,
gone.
Gone.
Well, I found something.
And the guy could have been, he could have been just hoaxing. But what if the government said, no, go shut him down?
Yeah, I saw it could be a hoax by teenagers, like bored teenagers. But also, could this be another attempt to plant disinformation by the government?
That's the way I was looking at a lot of the things that I found.
Like, but also I was like, why would you need to do this 60 years later?
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, okay. They posted pictures on the company's website, appearing to show the aircraft half buried in silt, and sonar image of a second metallic object, which they thought was a UFO. And you can see kind of like a plow mark where these things kind of were just hit and maybe slid across the bottom until they finally
stopped
underwater and came to a rest.
Okay.
Now, what if it was legit?
I would imagine,
because I'd call BS on bored teenagers.
right?
Yeah.
They don't build a website,
right?
Photoshop some images,
right?
Do this elaborate hoax. They're playing Xbox.
Well, when did they hear about this?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like 60 years after the fact.
That's
Nobody's
just
talking
it.
about this.
Yeah, it happened in 53, right?
Yeah, 52.
And this was like 2006 when this came out.
But at the same time, I don't
53.
see that there was any. This was like Michigan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not shallow. There's
Yeah.
no way that a plane is going to survive intact and leave a trail on the bottom, a skid mark on the bottom.
The skid mark is weird to me,
like-
but I figured the UFO might have a different density. It could do something.
Thought that it came out that the photos were from somewhere else.
Okay.
And they had just posted them or whatever. So there's a lot of, like, I don't know who would be hoaxing this. Because it is.
Why, for that matter.
Exactly. So it also makes you think, could it be some kind of.
And the article I read said
thing?
these days most people consider the whole thing a hoax. But again, a lot of things like because of the government flip flopping, they said one thing about
Right.
this and they did this. So like they're absolutely covering this up.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, wouldn't it be interesting if the Great Lakes Diving Company labeled a hoax? Turned out the guy did find some of the wreckage,
Right.
and they went and like, we gotta put a damper on this. People are just gonna think it's a hoax by the time we're done manipulating the situation.
Well, that got me thinking about. So this whole situation got me thinking about the frequency of alien sightings in the area. Okay, so I go over the Great Lakes. So I went in and I just looked at Michigan by itself. And granted, there are other states associated with the Great Lakes, but I looked at Michigan. So Michigan. I was thinking, well, could this be a hoax? Are there other sightings? And I realized that Michigan is number 9 in the U.S. for total sightings.
Ooh.
They average more than 460 sightings per year.
Wow.
That's like, what is that? 1.3-ish a day?
Wow.
That's a lot of sightings. Holy moly. And then I was like, okay, well, let me think. So how much?
Could you imagine if people were looking up from their cell phone, how that number would double?
Oh, God, yeah.
Right, exactly. And that was from like, I think the date that they gave was, I think it was like 2006 to 2015 or 2009 to 2015, something like that. And then I also looked at, okay, well, let me just kind of see how many military bases are around.
Yeah.
You know, so I went on. So there's a number. There's 3 military bases. There's 2 naval bases that are right in the vicinity, right there. So that got me thinking. Okay, well, I'm gonna type in something into Google that I type in whenever we talk about aliens, and I typed in underground bases in Michigan, underground military bases. Coincidentally, it's really odd how this works out.
Sure it is.
Yeah. So there was Rico Army Air Force Airfield. Okay. Now there was this zoom in on Google Earth of this airfield, and it's a perfect triangle. And you zoom in and you zoom in, and on Google Earth they label everything. This wasn't labeled, and it's a perfect little triangle that you zoom in on. So so this thing was there. I don't know how far back. I don't know when it was created, but in 1960, this airfield was converted to missile silos. Okay, so it's very well underground. There's a whole base there underground. Then in 1972, this thing was shut down completely, and it's right on the lake right there.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, okay, well, that got me thinking about, okay, so I have kind of this piece over here of underground bases, military bases for the joint hybrid activities for aliens and in the military. Then I'm thinking, well, hold on for a second. Didn't we do a whole episode on Shag Harbor with lights in the water?
Don't you even invoke the Shag Harbor?
No, I'm just saying
proclamation.
We did a whole thing with aliens coming in and out of the water and lights coming in and out of the water. And I'm thinking, well, some of these openings that we're talking about, like the one in Colorado, are actually openings that are in a mountainside or something like that where the doors open. Well, why? Why couldn't they be like the and any number of evil, hidden bases where it's underwater? You don't need giant doors if it's underwater. So, and the Great Lakes are so massive that makes total sense. So why couldn't a ship take this plane, take it, put it in its little cargo bay or whatever it was, right down in the water. It loses the blip. It disappears. It just cruises around underwater, goes into some base, and there you go. And then it's gone. Yeah. And the military who's watching this says, no, this happened. This didn't happen. Oh, wait a minute. No, it didn't happen. They crashed because the guy had vertigo.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, right. Sure. Aliens are probing. Mm-hmm. There are no cows around in that area, in the water anyway. So they got to take the people. Yeah.
Woo! If you feel like your your eardrums have just been probed by national theory, you're not the only one.
Yeah.
That was a little crazy.
That's right. Do you feel the need? The need for speed?
Why don't we take a break? And we'll be right back with more Top Gun. Not Top Gun.
No.
We'll be right back.
Hey there, this is JB, and if you enjoyed Tales from the Crypt, then check out my show, Tales from the Podcast, where myself, and usually a very special guest, sit down to discuss the TV show, the films, the animated series, as well as the original comics. So check me out every other week on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, and of course at talesfromthepodcast.com.
Thanks for listening, kiddies. You're all a scream.
And we're back. All right. During the break, Alicia said, I have one more thing. So before we start talking nonsense, Lish, what you got?
Okay. So I have this thing. Gord Heath. He's a Canadian.
Oh.
He said that he contacted a UFO investigator. Or maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it was the UFO investigator that posted this. Because he was convinced he had memories that could only belong to Moncla.
What?
Oh.
Yes. He was impressively well-versed in the Kinross Incident.
Clone.
Well, just let me finish this, and then we can totally go into this.
He might be a clone.
He believed in some fashion that he was Felix Moncla.
Oh.
Now, Heath was born 9 months after the F-89 disappeared.
Oh.
Okay. And a DNA test ruled out that he wasn't physically Moncla. Okay.
Well, he wouldn't have been because he was born when the guy disappeared.
9 months after he disappeared.
A pregnancy cycle afterwards.
Right.
Yes. Oh, God, yes.
Right.
I didn't even think about that.
An incubation time amount.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's not a little. That's a
Did his
big.
mother live in the area of?
I don't know. That wasn't in the information that I was able to get. But I was just like, oh, this is kind of fun that we could probably talk about this. I wasn't even thinking about 9 months because maybe that's why they said 9 months after.
Yeah.
But interesting.
So if it was 9 months after the incident, that means they already had to have, because actually gestation takes about 10.
Okay.
So they would have already had to have had and basically planned this out before it happened. To your, it was a question 4 or whatever, where they basically chose the two pilots to go out there because for whatever reason, that means that they already had a sample of his DNA somehow, some way.
Blood tests.
Whatever they do in the, but once you're in, I don't know how often they test the guys. I don't know any of the semantics like that, but they would have already needed to have a viable DNA sample from him. Oh, he's a military guy.
But see, no, then there couldn't be any memories of the incident because the sample would have been taken beforehand.
You're right.
I'm thinking the UFO did something where, for lack of a better term, the soul, the essence of...
They imparted like an echo of something into the DNA.
Out and happened to hit some family just getting started on the shore of the lake.
Oh, that could. I see what you're saying. So more along the lines of like a nuclear blast with like your T-shirt getting imprinted on your body.
Yes.
Kind of a thing.
Right. So not that necessarily that whatever happened caused the this person's, I forget his name, his mother to get pregnant, but that she was pregnant.
Gord.
And that
That's a strange name.
Right. Was like pushed onto the fetus and created an imprint that then, as the baby grew, now he
But he says that he was him.
He felt like he had memories of him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think he was saying he was specifically him, or maybe he was like, I don't know, because I have these memories.
Yep.
Because they would have been. That means they would have had to been artificially implanted into him.
Yeah.
Some way, whether through I don't know some crazy. Oh my gosh, that's a whole different set of questions.
Yeah.
Where's Gord's mom? Was she experimented on, and he was
Right. So I didn't get much information other than what I just read to you. So it was literally this small little blurb or whatever, and I was like, boy, this is interesting.
Unless they took a piece of the aliens took a piece of Felix the cat's brain and regrew it test tube style, right? And then that's why he's getting these echoes.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, not to take it complete tangent, but see, that's, I think, how they hide the truth in plain sight. Of they release just a little bit of details that are so, by themselves, sound so weird that no one wants to investigate them. But,
That's the hook. That's the real hook.
But then you look at it, and it's like if you looked at the whole picture of what happened around this, you would see the rest of the story.
So maybe he could have just been a plant, just as a part to redirect you from thinking that this was a real occurrence, in just the way that we just thought about it.
Yeah.
Because it takes the spotlight off of the incident and puts it on this other situation, which could be much bigger.
Yep.
Or maybe this guy actually had memories of something, and then the government was saying, "Oh no, this is let's make this really weird so that people are like, ugh, he's
push it over the top."
Yeah, exactly.
What is that? Plausible deniability.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to circle back to what was his mom's name?
I didn't have that.
Or no, you say Gord?
His name is Gord.
His name's
Heath.
Gord.
Gord.
You sure it's not like Gordy?
No, it was said G-O-R-D.
Like Gordie Howe?
No, G-O-R-D Heath.
Gord.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I thought that was kind of an interesting name as well. I was like, I like that name, actually. But
Gord?
I wonder if an anagram of his name would be the password to get into the Pentagon.
Oh, what's up? Yeah.
Give me a good anagram of that name.
I can't do that in my head.
Gord? G-O-R-D? Oh, my gosh.
Well, and
there aren't many.
At this point, it wouldn't matter. The passwords are way too big, and biometrics and everything. But back in the 50s and 60s and 70s...
R-Dog?
Grod.
May have been.
A password be Gord 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was the original. So they could have just started carbon copying these gourds.
Right.
And Gord 1, Gord 2, Gord 3, and then all of a sudden you've got gourds going all over the place.
Did you ever see Sneakers?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Sneakers, the anagram of the phrase was the whole thing of the password of the black box that could decipher any password. And
right.
This, same thing.
Pretty good movie. I actually watched that recently. It was a good one.
I like that movie.
I thought you were talking about a cat. Sneakers. So I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh, Robert Redford and Phoenix.
River Phoenix.
River Phoenix was in it.
And Ben Kingsley.
Right.
Sidney Poitier.
Yeah, Sidney Poitier. I love that name.
I forget her name from Dances with Wolves, the female lead.
Oh, she was also the president's wife in Independence Day.
Yes.
Oh, right.
But I can't think of her name. No. Wait.
Something McDonald.
It is something McDonald. God, I don't know.
Isn't it Mary?
No, I don't think it's
Helen?
Mary. No.
Anyways.
Anyway, we'll look it up after.
Thanks for witnessing. That's what he does. Well, Gord is a clone. He just doesn't. Maybe he knows it. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know.
It could be Mary.
He's a clone. I have deemed it. He's a clone. That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
there you go.
Well, that everything's been solved.
Yeah.
Just like that. Yep. Gord, if you're out there, you're about the age of my father. So you're what, 60s, mid to late 60s ish. So there's a chance that you're still kicking. And if you're out there, email us. Send us some of your memories of what happened in 1953.
Well, I hope our listeners still kicking it, not asleep on the couch after listening to some of that stuff.
I think it is Mary, isn't it? Okay.
I tried to bring it back, man. I tried to bring it back.
So, in the realm of bringing it back, after watching In the Vast of Night, all I can think of it throughout this entire episode is that if we had a live feed, we were going to get a call from somebody who was a radar operator.
That would be awesome. Hold on. We
got to start doing this live.
Yeah.
So we can get those crazy calls.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because the whole time I'm just like, there's going to be somebody who witnessed this that's going to call in and they're going to start talking.
We'd be like, we got a caller in line?
Yeah.
Who do we have?
Yeah.
This is Gord.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool?
And then we would spend the next 15 minutes asking him about what's the name mean? Where'd that come from?
Why did you get that name?
We would not ask him a single thing about his experiences.
Tell us about your childhood. What was your mom like? Because she was that's a weird name.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a Canadian name.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you play D&D?
That's right. And thanks for joining us on Paranormal Punchers.
Hey, you want to be like a regular guest? It'd be pretty cool.
That'd be pretty cool, Gord. Yeah. Come on back.
And then that's exactly how we go.
And then on episode 185, we're like, so question for you. It's been all of our minds for the last 6 months. Are you a clone? If so,
like, no, I'm a reptilian.
Like,
and then we'd be like, so tell me about what's
it like down there?
Do you eat bugs like the reptilians here, or do you? Yeah,
right.
Do you the mice like on V? Was that a biopic and not some science fiction show?
Everybody listening would just facepalm.
I know.
Clearly, they don't ask the hard-hitting questions.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how it would go down if we met an alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if it was a true alien, it would be like, what do you eat? Do you drink beer? What kind of beer do you like?
Do you eat us?
Oh, you eat humans, yeah.
Dude,
that's cool.
What's the whole thing with probing? Is that a thing? Was that just somebody was having a beer and they just did it and the rumor got out? Well, what's going on? Yeah. Oh, by the way, can you cure cancer? No? Oh, well, okay. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. Why don't you talk? Are you talking to my mind? What are you doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing? Why'd you look over there? Do you have eyelids? Wow, do you have a tongue?
Why are you so skinny? Don't you guys work out?
Don't you work out? Yeah. Don't you eat? Do you have subs in space?
Protein powder? What's going on?
Hard-hitting questions.
Yep.
Hard-hitting questions.
I kind of feel like you guys have thought about this before.
Don't lump me in.
I have my list of questions in the back of my little notepad here.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
This is the point of the show where
Gord calls in and spills the beans.
Usually this is the point of the show where I'm like putting a finger up, being like, wrap it up, guys. Wrap it up.
and that,
wow.
That particular finger.
Yeah, this one.
I thought you were putting... Anyway.
So in the podcast world, that means shut up.
Just shut up and move on.
Let's move on.
It's time for listener feedback. Not feedback.
What? No, it's time.
Listener stories.
No, it's not even
Tales from the pudding skin.
Tales from the pudding skin.
Look, man, we went off the rails so far. I don't even know what show I'm
Oh,
on anymore.
my gosh.
You went through an extra-dimensional door, and you're somewhere
You're
else.
in another portal.
Am I on Dragon Punchers? Am I back on Punch Farm talking about movies? I don't even know where I'm at. I might not actually even be here.
That's right. I can hear Mark's voice. He's trying to get us back on track.
How do you know we're real?
That's right. I'm just waiting for the probes to come out.
Yeah.
When'd you put them in?
Oh.
Whoa! Hey-o! Hey-o!
Zinger! There's absolutely no one's listening anymore.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay.
They've shut off.
Tales from the pudding skin.
Tales from the pudding skin. We heard from Allison. She has a story for us. Liz is going to read it.
Yep.
And we're going to shut our faces and let this happen.
Hey, guys. I've written to y'all once before, and here I am again. I'm at work and just listened to the bonus episode on lucid dreaming. I have done it once before, and it scared the crap out of me. It was incredibly vivid. I could feel the floor beneath my feet and the AC on my arms. I was walking about the house completely aware of what I was doing. I did a bit of research beforehand. I was very successful. It's like the putting skin of consciousness and your subconscious.
Yeah, right on.
A meditative state, like he said. It was an incredible feeling, but probably something I won't attempt to do on purpose. Insidious had just come out, and I had gained a fear of straying too far and not being able to find my way back. Now I'm listening to the Ouija episode, and it reminded me of our family game with our neighbor's board. My mother, 2 sisters, brother, and I used to do ghost hunting all the time, and one day we decided to see if we could contact the other side. We had the house dim, and we all sat around the board and placed our fingers on the thing. We asked the usual questions, but it got intense. A bit of backstory: I have a different father than my siblings, and theirs passed away when we were all very young. I, the youngest, was one, and my oldest sister was 8, to give a scale of age. It was a hard day. I actually remember where I was, who picked me up from daycare, and how the news was broken. He was a construction worker and had fallen off a roof. It was especially hard on my brother. He got most of his belongings. At our time with the board, we started to question if it was true or not, because we had been given hints that we were talking to Tim, their dad. We thought of a question that only my mother and brother knew the answer to, so they removed their fingers, and my sister and I put ours on. We asked the question, who gave Andrew your license when you passed? I watched my brother's face as it turns to tears while it spelled out Terry. My uncle had given it to him a few years after the accident. No one except him and my mother even knew he had it, and their hands weren't even touching the game at all. I had confirmed this with my uncle. I will never forget my brother's face. But that's my story. Thanks for taking the time to read it and giving us weird lovers something entertaining to love and enjoy.
Thanks, Allison.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so first, just to address the outer body experience, or the astral projection.
Mm-hmm.
I love how she mentioned Insidious.
Yeah.
You were, in the movie, you're kind of going into this Nash's perfect view, because it does felt like you crossed through the pudding skin and you're in this different.
Yeah.
But if you would get lost in there and couldn't find your way back out,
Right.
I equate it to the upside down. You know, because it was, she could get in there, but if you couldn't get out, and it was all black everywhere you went, you know what I mean? And if you couldn't get out, oh my gosh, I could see why you were reserved for that reason.
To not try it again.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know if I ever want to try it. I don't want to be in the upside down, but I don't want to be in the Insidious. And I really don't want to be in pudding skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I already have problems sleeping on a regular basis, so I don't think I would want to add something like that to me. Like, to be like, oh, no, I need to get a full night's sleep, but I'm not anyway. I'm not going to add this to it.
But it sounded like she had a level of confidence, though, to where it was like she was able to try it, not necessarily master it, but become well-versed on how to navigate this situation.
For sure.
And then it was the movie who put that seed of fear in her head, you know what I mean? But, I mean, that's like, we talked about it before, that's like, in my mind, akin to like Jedi powers. That's like, you can do things.
Force projection.
And
then fight somebody, but then if you get killed in your force projection, you also die wherever you were sitting, and someone paid billions to make that movie.
That's right. I don't know, I just think that
that's my opinion on, what was that, the Force Awakens? Not the Force Awakens.
Not the Force Awakens.
The second one.
Last Jedi.
Was it The Last Jedi?
I don't even know. I've kind of pretty much just wiped them out of my
Or is that the one where he's racing in the pod racers?
No, let's not even get into those.
Oh, God.
Yeah, the newer ones.
The newer
Force
ones.
Awakens.
Yeah.
And then
The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi, where Luke force projected, battled Kylo Ren, but then...
Well, he just died because of the power it took to create
to do that, yeah.
The effort exhausted his body. Wow, you gave that a stank face. Like, that's why he dissolved. But anyway, I think that her ability to...
That's why the first three are the
main ones.
That's it.
Yeah.
Watch the first
the originals,
3 Star Wars
the OG.
movies. Don't watch anything else. I'm sure some people are already flipping me off for saying that.
Except for the last 15 seconds of the prequel third movie. The last, 15 seconds when Darth Vader's in the tube on the other side of those doors where...
Oh, that's great. When he comes through, we get to see what happened right before the...
before they give the
New Hope?
Yeah. That last little nugget.
Hey, Allison, somehow we started talking about Star Wars from your story. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with Star Wars.
No, I just think it was fantastic that she was able to make it a skill and actually practice it and be able to control it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then the whole Ouija board thing, oh my gosh, that's... I don't know if I could handle that. That'd fry my noodle. Mm-hmm. Oh, my gosh.
Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah.
And making us talk about Star Wars. All right. We heard from Ben. Dave's going to field this one because he hasn't been here in person for a while, so he's going to read this.
Yep. Okay. Hey, guys. Just found your podcast a couple months ago, and I've been listening on my drives to and from work. I took a little hiatus from podcasts last month, and I resumed listening recently. I wanted to share my story and maybe even give you a topic to talk about if the info is out there, that is. Well, here goes. The oldest memory I have is of this intense paranormal encounter. Granted, it could be the wild imaginations of a child, but it's still engraved in my memory to this day. I was about 4 years old when this happened. There had been a string of thunderstorms that week, and I had been caught sneaking out of my room at night to sleep in my sister's room, which was a joint room for both of them. I was told to remain in my room that night or I would be in big trouble the next day. After settling down to sleep, the storm crept up again, and I was terrified. So I set about slipping into my sister's room. Our bedroom shared a double-sided hatch, which you could crawl through without ever leaving either room. However, on this night, my sisters had their side closed. Fearing retribution from my father, I slowly opened my bedroom door. The house was dark, illuminated occasionally by flashes of lightning. Our house was a trailer, so you could almost see from one end to the other, with the exception of one wall that blocked the view of my parents' room. But from my room, I could see down the hall that led right up to the turn that had led to their bedroom. At this point, I began my army crawl, dragging my blanket along with me and remaining as quiet as possible, and freezing every time the thunder boomed. When I was halfway to my sister's room, I turned to check if I had been caught, and froze instantly. Standing in the hall was a figure that I first thought was my father. But then I remembered he wears a red bathrobe at night, and my mother wore a deep blue bathrobe. When the lightning flashed, I saw it was a figure in a grayish-white robe that included a hood. The face of the hood was black, and no face could be seen. After a moment of paralysis, I regained myself and took off to my sister's room, crawling as quickly as possible. Fast forward 10 years. It's the dead of summer and school's out, which meant one thing in my house: no set bedtimes. I am sitting in my bedroom with the door closed at roughly 10:30 p.m. At this point, we now live in a double-wide trailer, and from my bedroom you could see the kitchen bar. Just to the right of my door is a small hall with 2 bedrooms at either end and a bathroom in between. Diagonal from my room is my next oldest sister's room. Now that you have an understanding of the layout, let's get weird again. Mm-hmm. My bedroom door is shut, and I am playing PS2, Ratchet and Clank, Deadlocked to be exact.
Nice.
All of a sudden I hear a dog barking. I quickly open my door to check what's going on. My oldest sister, being diagonal from me, had our Dachshund on her bed, and I asked, "What's he barking at?" To which she responded, "I don't know. He's staring at your door and barking." I told her to keep him quiet because our dad was asleep, Mom being at her third shift job. I closed my door and resumed gaming. It wasn't long, and our dog started barking again. Sighing, I decided to save the game and turn it off. The Family Guy was coming on soon, and my TV didn't pick up that channel for some reason. So I went to her room, and the dog got quiet again. 10 minutes later, we decided to make some snacks for the night. Going to the kitchen, we began preparing sandwiches. Halfway through, our dog began growling, a deep growl, a growl that made my spine shiver. Fearing he would bark and wake my dad up, I ran around the counter to find him staring at my bedroom again. I knelt down and grasped his muzzle with my hands, preventing him from opening his mouth. Looking down to my bedroom, I immediately became paralyzed with fear. Standing in front of my closed bedroom door was a massive black shadow. It appeared to be wearing a black robe or cloak of some sort. Again, this robe or cloak included a hood, from which 2 glowing red eyes stared back at me. Where its right arm would be the wall was blocking my view, but being a young teen, I imagined Death, the Grim Reaper. I had not even realized it, but I was breathing heavily. My sister asked, "What's wrong?" To which I replied, "Do you not see that?" Stuttering, of course, as fear was crippling me. To this day, I am not sure if the 2 entities were one and the same. I did try and do some research regarding the second sighting about 5 years later, avoiding initial research and hoping that the less I know, the safer I'd be, because I was avoiding thinking about it as often. This research led me to an entity that I don't recall the name of currently, but was described as a demon that fed off negative emotions. Ooh. The information I found went on to say that being positive and willing the demon to hold no power over you could cause it to leave. The confirmation of this departure was said to be received in a dream. In almost all cases, victims reported having a dream in which there was a lot of fire. Several months later, this dream came to me. I remember being on a brown, earthy platform encircled in fire and floating. There was endless fire below the platform, and the only other thing with me on the platform was this entity. It came at me with the intent to kill, and we struggled on the platform for what seemed to be forever. Eventually, I was able to knock it from the platform into the flames and almost instantly awoke to be covered in a cold sweat with my sheets soaked. I still wonder to this day if the research I did was accurate, if this entity was indeed a demon feeding off negative emotions. There is still more to share, but those are stories for another time. Let me know your thoughts. I also apologize for writing such a long story, but when I send in another, it shouldn't be near as long. Thanks, and stay awesome.
Wow.
Holy moly. Fight!
Yeah.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah.
Wow. First off, I would like to say, Dave, excellent job. Mm-hmm. That was Ben. That was a long story. Yeah. Dave, you crushed it.
Yeah, you did good.
I have never heard of this type of figure appearing to people. That doesn't mean it doesn't to a lot of people,
right.
But that would be absolutely terrifying. Mm-hmm. And yes, the only thing that would cross my mind would be the Grim Reaper.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. And if it was, I'm thinking that I don't know enough about demons and how they show themselves, but do they? I would imagine that they would have the ability to pick something that they would see as fear in your head and go with that image, or I don't know, because
now the first time you saw it was in like a white robe with no face.
Right. Like it was like
the second time it had a
white gray robe.
White robe, and then it was a darker robe with glowing red eyes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Why did it change? What was the difference?
Yep. Right. That's what I was thinking, because if it was the same entity, could the child got a little bit older,
right?
And that could have dialed in the image a little bit longer. I don't know.
No, I like what you're saying. An entity playing off of it was talking about it feeds off of negative emotions,
right?
Playing into what scares this kid the most. It got a little older. What scares this person the most?
Right.
Is it appearing?
You think of a 4-year-old, they're still innocent. They're, not to say Ben at whatever age the second one was, he wasn't innocent, but the innocence of a 4-year-old, their fears are much more, it's just the thunder or the lightning. That's the fear. It's
right.
When you get to 14, your fears are much more, getting more mature and things like that could.
Yeah, I think Evan's age. Because his fears of what he fears, I'm sure in his mind, are dialed in.
Yeah.
He's seen enough to know exactly what it looks like, and to be able to pluck that image out of his head and use that I don't know.
Yeah, even like being that age, that it seared that in, and he still describe it to us.
Yep, right.
I don't know. I'm kind of curious. I don't like that you beat it in a dream over a fiery pit where you do some. You have to have a cage match with
which would be awesome.
This demon. Yeah, but still, like.
Well, but maybe I don't. Yeah, I'm just thinking that in the dream that would be maybe one of the only places that you could be on an equal footing. And maybe that was the overcoming of it, and that was just what his brain put together as overcoming it. I don't know. I think he should have gone for a fatality.
Dream warrior.
The dream warrior.
And if this, he didn't obviously give a name, and we've never heard of the concept. But to me, it sounds like if you played, I just forgot the name of it. EA game, Dragon something.
Dragon Age?
No. Anyways, there's a
Today, though, you did tell us that your long-term memory is stellar.
Yes.
But just right now. Oh, you're holding up a beer glass. I get it.
Yeah. Anyways, in these games, Dragon Age.
I just said that.
Did you?
Yeah. Literally just said that.
Oh, boy.
Dragon Age. You're like, no.
Well, I also said my first
it's not that one.
Let them fight.
Fight.
So Dragon Age, there's the concept of various demons that attack different ways, and the one is a fear demon, and it attacks your innermost fears. And I picture these things as sort of like Dementors from Harry Potter, where they don't show up. Like if you saw a Dementor or a fear demon, it would be completely different from how I would see it.
Right.
It's all about what
fear to that person
the most, what affects you the most. And we could be both looking at the exact same thing at the exact same time, and we would see totally different images. It's always going to be scary.
I love. All right, so if going around the table, starting with Dave, if a fear demon came upon you, what would you see?
Off the top of my head, with some beer in me, it's going to be something spider or centipede related.
Okay.
Nash.
It'd be spider.
Okay.
Lish.
So I was in the same boat as you, but mine would be like a combination of like a snake and a spider. Like it would be like this crazy creature.
Right.
Okay. We did watch Anaconda last night.
We did.
Yeah.
Doesn't
hold up that well.
It could be a negative balance on a bank statement. That could be a scary thing.
Nah, mine would be a giant ant.
Really?
Yeah, because
little suckers.
Those little suckers.
Yeah.
Hey, for some reason, when ants see an ant in the house, I know he's searching for food, trying to find
your soul.
My soul.
Yeah.
To steal it away.
No, you see, if he finds something good, he's going to lead a trail to the entire army. I don't know why ants bother me, but they do. So if it was giant, like the movie Them,
I would have an issue.
Yeah, was it Them?
You know what I would also have an issue with is the creature, the original creature from The Thing, the old Kurt Russell.
The old Kurt Russell movie.
That was in the 70s.
I think what you wanted to say 80s? Was the classic horror movie starring Kurt Russell, the amazing Kurt Russell.
Yes, it's old at this point.
Made by the most amazing director, John Carpenter. I think that's how you wanted to describe that, right?
Okay, sure. I'm just saying that was in the 80s, right? Early 80s? Wasn't that like 40 years ago?
Would you like a shovel?
Shovel? No, I actually just bought a new shovel, too.
It's faster to dig yourself deeper.
Yeah. I got a big shovel. Yeah, because I don't know when that movie was made. It was made a long time ago. They had really long, fluffy, full-bodied hair. You know, and their part
feathery look.
Oh, it looked really nice.
I'm thinking 1981. I'm going to look it up right now.
Which would be 40 years ago, Grandpa.
Classic is always a classic.
You're right.
Good is always good.
That creature with the amorphous blobular, like sticking 82, sticking on the walls, kind of the goo constantly coming after you the way it did. That would be a good one. That would embody fear.
That would be terrifying. But it also, like, it got into, you didn't know, the bigger fear was, like, it could be Dave. Dave could be podcasting right now, and it's actually the alien. And then somehow we do something, and Dave's like, crap, they figured it out.
He's like,
you just started talking about it. I mean, come on. This is where the podcast ends.
That's right. And it goes silent, and that's all you hear. That's right. And then he starts putting, like in Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, a classic, a true American classic, starts putting the bugs in your ear to control your brain.
Are you comparing the Thing to Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan? Are you trying to say one's better than the other? Or
I'm just saying that they're both classics, that's all.
Okay, no, they're both classics.
That's it.
Do you know Chekhov acts like he recognizes Khan, but he wasn't even in the episode where Khan was?
Yeah, you're right. He wasn't. But but as a first officer on a starship, he would have to review the files.
Okay, really quick. Not to change the topic back to what we're supposed to be talking about.
Alpha 6.
But from a fear demon standpoint, I know I already went, but
it is the Thing.
The thing that really we talked about all physical things, spider, centipede, but really the mental fear that could be injected by something. So, like for me, if it was my boss or my parents or my friends being disappointed in me would be absolutely more devastating than some scary creature that if I just had the right weapon I could fight against. But there's no way if you guys were disappointed in me for something, I'm not going to take a sword and strike you down. There's no way to really build that up. No. That fear is going to really embody in me, and that's going to really that's what a fear demon would build on.
But he would still have to create
not an actual character.
Right.
Yeah.
But they would still need to create something for you to get you to that next step of really pooping your pants kind of a thing. It would need not a physical body, but some kind of a manifestation to show you, so you're scared. But now you're next level. Oh my gosh, what is this thing? Like in the story. So,
but at age 4 and 14, that's a different thing. I don't think you need that. You haven't reached an age where that you've hit that. The mental concept, the physical concept is probably more intense at that point.
Correct.
But if the same fear demon if he hadn't fought it off, he'd probably still be experiencing those things where it becomes more and more intense from a non-physical.
What would be your son at 14 years old with his biggest fear? I know what mine would be.
Sucking at Call of Duty.
I was going to say the power goes out.
Right.
That's probably the worst fear.
Dave, I see what you're saying, but I'm telling you, if a fear demon listened to this episode, it would just sigh
and move on
deeply.
To something else.
It would sigh deeply and be like, fine, giant ant, giant centipede.
Yeah, whatever.
Snake mixture thing. Sigh. Let me go find somebody with
some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yep.
Well, as the fear demon likes to say, isn't it time to end this show?
Yeah.
It is.
Yes, I think the fear demon
that's probably
somebody else along
I'm
with
telling you, yeah. Right now, there's a listener out there, and their greatest fear is they're never going to stop.
They're never going to stop.
I have to listen to this for eternity.
That might be my greatest fear. Okay, guys. I was about to throw the finger up and be like, come on, let's move it.
You can't do the wrap it up signal. That's your fear.
This is Alicia's fear demon
eternity.
right now.
That it's out of my control. Yes.
Alicia, she would have these notes, the best notes she's ever made for a Paranormal Punchers topic, but this would actually be more your hell.
Yeah.
But you could never, every time you tried to read a bullet point you wrote, we would interject with something stupid.
I feel like the has happened. The has.
I'm pretty sure she can rattle off episode numbers. If you'd like them.
Probably double-digit episode numbers at this point.
Wait, you have nightmares about doing this show with us?
No, I don't. Somebody is putting some words in my mouth, but.
Well, like we said on the Patreon episode, if it's not weird,
it's not.
Whoa! Wow!
Hey, I thought
fear demon. I just interrupted you.
Yeah.
If it's not weird,
it's not worth checking out.